Welcome to Real Estate Success DFW, the podcast where top producing agents from Dallas-Fort Worth come together to share their stories and strategies behind their success. I'm Shaune Corbett, your host, and with over 300 million sold in the local real estate market and the honor of being best at feed multiple times, I know what it takes to make it in this market. Each episode, we're going to dive into the world of real estate, learning from the very best in the industry. If you're ready to level up your game, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to Real Estate Success DFW with Shaune Corbett. I have got a celebrity with us today. His name is Nav Singh. He goes by Nav. Is that correct? Is that how you like to be?
Yep.
Okay.
I go by Nav.
That's what I've been calling you over the phone and all the other times. So Nav has just been absolutely killing it on some different spaces. I want to kind of talk a little bit about that. But first, let's say hi to Nav. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. I think it's funny you said celebrity, and I think everyone in real estate, they're like, oh man, I'm a celebrity, I'm so famous, but at the end of the day, man, I'm just another normal guy. But I really appreciate the kind words. Thank you for having me.
Well, I say it because your Instagram is the envy of most, right? I mean, you have like over 18,000 on your Instagram, and I know you've had an intentional purpose in making that be a better, more important part of your business. But it's intentional. You can see it, Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I always like to kind of start, how do we get it? What made you decide you're going to sell real estate, or did it find you?
I would say so, backstory, I graduated from the University of Texas at Arlington, and that was home, and Arlington has been my home. So I'm born and raised Arlington, and I would say it's something that I truly love this city. And I went to Ditto Elementary, I went to Young Junior High, Martin High School, and then it was just a natural progression. I went to UTA. I knew I wanted to get my degree, but after that, when I graduated, I was like, hey, what am I going to really do, right? So once I graduated college, and in college, I would say that's where my real estate career really began, because I started networking with people, and I didn't know I was building connections for life, because that's what I feel like real estate is, right? Networking and connections. But my family, where we have a business background, my parents and uncle, they've been in the car dealership business for over 30 years here in Arlington. So business has always kind of been in the blood. And then from there, what happened is they started dabbling in real estate, bought one property to flip, bought the second property to flip. So started buying rentals, started buying commercial properties. And at that point, at no point was it like, hey, go get your real estate license. It was, we had an agent, and then my dad and I talked, and my uncle, they told me, they're like, hey, I think you should get your license. Our agent's making some mistakes, and we feel like he's not fully helping us. And they're like, you're young and sharp, you can step in and take care of it. So I did it, and here we are like 6-7 years later, and probably the best decision I ever made.
It's not an unusual track to find people get into real estate through their own investing.
Yes.
It's actually more common, and the ones that do that typically make it because they understand the ups and downs of real estate, and they're not just thrown in thinking that, wow, I'm going to make $200,000 a year showing houses and having fun. Right. That's this perception that people have about real estate agents, is that you just make tons of money and all you do is fun things. And that's not, we know that's not the case.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah. And you can make it fun, right? You can enjoy what you do, and you can enjoy helping people through that process. And you can certainly enjoy the opportunity of turning ugly properties and making them beautiful, and helping a family move into a much better home than it was. It's something that I did do for a while. I did about 100 flips here in Dallas-Fort Worth, and I did about 50 of them in my personal name. And then I did another 50 for others. So I became kind of an advisor. I would find the property, I would renovate the property, I would lend on the property, and then I would stage the property, and I would sell the property, all the different phases to help them turnkey.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I still do that, today for those that are still involved in that space. I just find that I like the coaching and the podcasting space more for my extra time. And then I just still work my own sphere of influence, for my regular transactions.
That's amazing. Yeah. I definitely agree. Like there's so much that, I think there's not real estate. When you say real estate, like I do real estate, it's so broad, right?
Yeah.
Well, are you an agent? Are you a flipper? Are you a wholesaler? There's so many things that you can do. So that's one of my favorite things about real estate is there's endless possibilities, like you just said.
I'll tell you what's really interesting is sometimes that gets you in trouble with people that you know, like, and trust in your sphere. They don't realize that you're a real estate agent because you're doing some real high level real estate related work,
Yeah.
right? Finding investment properties, converting them, lending on them, or whatever it is. They don't even think about you as, no, I just want to buy a house.
Yeah.
I have been missed so many times because they think that I'm some type of, fancy guru in investing. And I'm like,
Mhm.
no, I can actually help write a contract for you and sell a house to you.
Yeah.
It sometimes gets you in trouble if you don't have proper way of staying in front of your sphere top of mind as an agent.
Yeah, 100% agree. I remember there was an instance, and this is some good advice to agents because, we as agents, sometimes we just showcase our more luxury properties, more high dollar properties, right? And I remember this was about 2020 in my career, and one of my friends, she reached out to me and she was just like, "Hey, I'm interested in buying a house, but I don't really want to bother you." And I was just like, you're not bothering me if you're I mean, at the end of the day, I want all my friends and my family to just reach out to me whenever, right? Even if it's not real estate related, right? But I would say we were pretty good friends in college, and she was just like, I'm Nav, I feel like I'm so sorry I'm bothering you. And she was like, I was like, no, she was like, I need some real estate help. I was like, okay, cool, let's sit down, grab some coffee, and we'll see where it goes. And then we sit down and she's like, yeah, I'm trying to buy a $400,000 house. And I was like, okay. And she was like, but I feel like it's such a bother to you. I don't want to bother you. I was just like, look, it's not a bother at all. I really appreciate that you even think and you want me to help you, right? For me, I tell people I do $100,000 condo listings. I help people buy $100,000 condos. They're very rare now, but 2, 3 years ago, you could buy them on in Fort Worth and stuff like that. But I even help my clients list their rentals, right? If they purchase with me and everything like that. And even to this day, like if I'm listing a rental and someone wants to see it and no one else is available, I'll go show it. I don't think if again, like it's a fine line, right? Like balancing time and trying to figure out what we can do. But at the end of the day, I don't feel like you're ever too good for anything.
Sure. I mean, either you own the business or someone else will. So
Yeah.
there's opportunities for those type of conversions. And people take it personal when the people closest to them don't call them for real estate.
Yeah.
They're you're just going to have to get over that. It's a hard thing to kind of swallow because they don't want you in their personal business. They don't want to affect your personal relationship. There's different reasons for it, or they don't want to ask for to take advantage of the relationship and try to get something extra from you. And
Yeah.
that's going to happen. You can't take it personal. I mean, I've had closest people to me, they'll do like I've had one set, they did 8 transactions without me. Okay.
Oh wow.
8 over, the last 10 years. And
Yeah.
I sell 100 houses a year. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I can handle helping you, but they just didn't want me involved in their personal space. So you just have to learn how to let it go.
Yeah. And I will say this, that's a really good example because actually one of my best clients, I've probably done about like 5 or 6 transactions with them in the last 3 or 4 years. Like they buy single family homes, live in it, and he just moves really quick. So,
Yep. Yep. It's a
but I
really good
remember,
strategy. It's hard on you, but it's a really good strategy. You could build net worth faster doing that than almost anything else.
yeah, 100% agree. And I think now he'll probably stay in this house a little bit longer because he bought the land and custom built because he was always upgrading. He was always moving into houses and figuring out what he didn't like. So now, since he bought and built, I think he'll stay put for a while. I'll give him like 3 or 4 years max until he moves again. But I remember I saw in 2018 when he did one transaction without me, and we had never done a transaction together at that point. And I felt upset. I was a newer agent. I was like, I let it get to me. But then I didn't say anything crazy to him. I just congratulated him. I was like, hey, if you ever need anything, let me know. And ever since then, I've been his guy for every single rental, every single sale. Like we've done multiple transactions together. And I really think at that point, sometimes you think like, oh, I should unfriend this person. They don't like me. And it was a thought that I had. I'm so glad I didn't. But like sometimes we let our emotions get the best of us. And I think I'm really glad you brought that up. It's really important to manage your own feelings and everything like that.
Absolutely. Had you been frustrated with him or took a major issue with it, he never would have called you.
Yeah,
You know,
100%
and it's
agree.
just like, well, if it's that going to be that way, I wouldn't want to call you now.
Percent.
So you've got
And
to learn how to just kind of let it go and accept that they had a win. They bought a house. That's what we want everyone to do.
exactly. And I think we should look at the, like, as agents, sometimes we do get selfish, right? And especially when we're newer in the business, right? I think as you grow and you realize there's so much to go around, right? It's easier to realize, because I have some agents that work at my brokerage and they have friends and they grew up in the same, like, I got these two guys, they're best friends and they're both agents and they're in the same sphere.
Oh
So
man.
it gets interesting. These guys, they play soccer together. They
Yeah.
have the same culture. They're like, everything is the same. So I remember these guys have both been with me since 2020. So the first couple deals, it was just like, oh dang, he used him. Oh dang, he used him. But now these guys have it down. They do. Fun fact is they're doing a client appreciation event together at our office. So in here in the next month. So like in March, they'll be doing a client appreciation event together. But I've just seen them grow as agents as well, and they haven't let them tear apart and affect their friendships. Even their friends are cool with it. Like they just straight up tell them like, "Oh, hey, I'm using him. Hey, I'm using him." Can't get them all, you know. So
Sure.
I'm very impressed with their growth.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it's one of those things that you have to, as a broker, foresee
Yeah.
where this is going to be a problem and how we
Hmm.
need to get ahead of it because it's going to happen often.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost better in cases like that. Hey, man, let's just partner
Yeah.
on any time we have people in common and we'll just split it and one will do more of the work than the other.
Yeah.
There's ways to kind of like just eliminate the emotion of it. You
Or
know
the
what I mean?
awkwardness. More so than emotion plays a big part too, but then there's that awkwardness too. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you got to like drop that wall and be able to open up to them again, but you got this kind of defensive posture that you're kind of
yeah.
frustrated and you got to get past that.
Hmm.
Let's talk about social media because
Okay.
that's one of the big things you've really impressed me on the where the space that you're really growing your business. You know, most of us don't have a really strong social media presence anyway, and you've taken it well beyond most of the people I've connected with. From all the things I've been doing in the background research with you, that was the biggest thing that like, wow, that's incredible. You know, that type
Thank
of
you.
outreach is going to create ongoing sphere of influence touches, it's going to create ongoing transactions. It's going to build credibility for people that have never met you.
Yeah.
Holy cow, this guy's got 18,000 people followers on Instagram. They're going to be like, okay, well, he's got something to say that's got to be honest. You
Yeah.
know,
No,
so talk about that. Where did it start and where are you at today?
yeah, no, thank you so much. So, I would say like social media, like if you think about it, the people that you can connect with on it are amazing, right? So my videos now, I see NFL players liking them, I see NFL players sharing them, and I'm like, whoa. And they're living in DFW, right? And some of them are like my favorite players that I saw like playing, or I'll get a random like some guy that's really well known in DFW, like a jeweler, for example, he'll like my video, and I'm just like, bro, so and so saw my video. Like it's gotten to that point. It's like mind blowing, right? And it's people that I look up to kind of, and I'm like, okay, well, and where it all started is I think actually TikTok had a big part of me doing this, right? So I downloaded TikTok back in what, 2019, 2020, when I was just like, let me just dabble in this and see what it is, right? And I didn't really take it too seriously, but I was creating content on it, started selling a couple million in volume from TikTok, and I was like, whoa, okay, this is insane. I'm connecting with people that are moving from Michigan. I'm connecting with people that are moving from Seattle, New York, Chicago, you name it. So I was like, oh, this is really cool, right? And I think the algorithms changed a little bit, and you still have to keep recreating, because that's the one thing with social media. It's forever changing, right? It's good, but it's forever changing. So then, Instagram, I've been doing, just listed and sold videos since 2019. So I think I was a little bit ahead of the curve, because whenever everyone was just doing just listed flyers, I was doing videos. And so like the videos you see today are much different from the videos that I used to do back in the day, right? So in 2019, I had a professional videographer. Anytime I closed a nice house, I would take him to the house and I'd be like, hey guys, this is Nav Singh. Today we're in Arlington, Texas, and we just closed on this $500,000 house. Come take a tour with us. And we do the quick drone. So fun fact, I don't think a lot of people were using drone in real estate in like 2018, 2019, in their videos at least, right? So I started doing that in 2019, and I saw a lot of success from it because people were like, whoa, this is different, and at least in my community, it had never been done before in my sphere, right? So my sphere was like, whoa, like who is this guy, you know? And that really helped me grow. It helped a lot of agents reach out to me because they're like, hey, I want to recreate what you're doing, right? So, I started the team in 2020. And from there, the crazy thing is we've never really put out where I own the brokerage that I'm at, Signature Real Estate Group. I've hired a broker of record because I like doing like the CEO part of stuff, and I have a broker of record that kind of does the compliance part. So from there, it's just been organic, right? Like I never put out hiring ads, and like the people that I connect with social media, the people that reach out to me, it's amazing. Like so social media, I'll stand on the hill. You can build a business. You could put me in a different area like Chicago. You could put me in New York. It would take me like 2 years, 3 years to figure out the market. But if I went over there and I just networked and used social media, I would become a top producing realtor over there.
Okay. Well, you give me lots of questions for you. Let me see if I
Okay.
can get this stripped down a little bit. So how long you been doing it? About, you said 18, 19. Is that Instagram specifically, or is that
Both,
both?
both,
Okay.
both.
So I don't know as much about TikTok, and it's kind of here now. It's not.
Yeah.
So it's not a space I'm really in, but Instagram's been real important to me. I've only started it about 4 months ago. How about that, huh?
Yeah.
I've sold 300 million in real estate. I just now started an Instagram account finally.
Yeah.
So the Instagram you started about 18, and then now we're at 2025. Has it been a real slow progression, or all of a sudden when you started making some specific changes over the last 1, 2 years is when it really took off?
So literally the last year is I was always consistently at like 4,000 to 5,000 followers. And in the last 6 months to a year, when I changed up my content style, because every real estate agent is doing, hey guys, we just closed on this house. We got a very special tour for you. Come check it out. And I'm not knocking it. It works. You got to show your product, right? That's your bread and butter. But then I was like, how do I stand out? Like, what makes me different from every other realtor, right? Or every other brokerage or every other brokerage owner? So I was like, people are moving to DFW, and me and my social media guy, we sat down and brainstormed, and I was like, you know what? We need to tell people what actually is making DFW unique and what's the game changer in DFW. And we just started talking about stuff, and then we talked about the Sphere coming to Dallas. We talked about Universal Studios, and then boom, 1 million views, 2 million views, and it just took off from there. Like it was that people wanted to see what's coming and what's happening. Why are people moving to DFW? Who's moving to DFW? What businesses are coming here? So of course, and it's all real estate related, right? When Universal Studios decided to build in Frisco slash Prosper area, it's real estate related. They buy the land, and what happens? People are trying to buy houses by it so they can Airbnb them. And so we just started seeing the DMs flood. Now people message us. They're like, hey, there's this empty piece of land. Do you know what's going to happen here? It's so funny. And I'm like, I'm sure if we do enough research, we can tell you. So it's pretty awesome.
That is fantastic. Yeah. So you're creating opportunities out of, just the work you're putting in on. And the cool thing is it's just ongoing, right? So the
Yeah.
videos that you've had posted before, they're going to go back and watch. And it
Oh,
continues to grow and be your brand, who you are, advertising for you ongoing, and you don't have to reinvest in it. It's
yeah.
already done.
Yeah. And so I think what's been the real shift as well is everyone knew we were like a residential brokerage and we do really well, but it's opening up huge commercial opportunities for us.
Yeah. Are you working to get into the commercial space?
If you asked me like about 5 years ago, some big multifamily guys sat down with me. They saw what I was doing in residential, and they were like, "Hey, we really want you to come over here and join our multifamily team." And part of me was like, "Oh man, I've worked so hard to build this residential career, right?" And like, because I feel like multifamily, you kind of got to be like know someone in it or born into it or whatever. But honestly, I'm very happy with where we are currently. We help our friends with like certain acquisitions and stuff like that. But I think residential will always be our bread and butter. But if there are some opportunities, like for example, right now we have a $5 million multifamily listing in Fort Worth, and we just got an LOI on it yesterday. Like stuff like that, cool. We'll knock it out. On to the next.
As long as it's within your sphere and your comfort space.
Exactly.
You're not trying to build a brand or anything around that. Okay. So let's talk about So we talked about social media. So you're running the company and you've got now some management team people and I'm sure you have some contract to close coordinating type people in the office and then you have agents working within your brokerage. How do you really make a work-life balance work with that?
Yeah, really, it's just our day to day is so different, right? Real estate, there's no schedule. People, because I still help buyers, I still go to listing appointments. Really, I feel like I'm young enough right now to where I really enjoy doing everything that I do. That's where the team comes in, right? If I can't be there, I have someone that can go. So, and it's never perfect, right? Because I, these buyers, they sometimes they have, and they have this misconception like I need to see it now, especially when it's like it's really difficult to manage people's expectations. Some people super easy to work with, right? And then there's others that are a little bit more difficult to manage their expectations, and they're like, I remember one of my agents was telling me he had gotten a new client and they had called him at like 3:30 and they wanted to he lives in Arlington and I think they wanted to see a house in Carrollton at like 4:30 and he was like, let me get with the seller, the property's occupied and I'll let you know. And then the person was like, well, if you're living in an Arlington and it's going to be a problem, then I don't want to work with you. He was just like, so it's really important to manage expectations. And because at the end of the day, we are human. We have to make time for ourselves. We have to make time for our families. And of course, business, like this is work. This is what you get paid to do for a living. So I think there is no balance, but you have to do your best to try to create it.
Expectations is important. When you're talking with clients, it's always good to get ahead of them on everything. If you can stay a step ahead of them on every part of the transaction, including where you feel like their expectations are going to be, is going to go a long ways into managing that work-life balance. For example, you may say, tomorrow afternoon from 3 to 4 is our time we can go show. Let's go. And then you show them three houses and then you close it out, right?
Yep.
We've got in, we looked at them, we decided, we moved out. Either we move forward or we don't. But
Yep.
if we say, what do you want to go see and when do you want to go see it, it'll be 6 o'clock on Saturday. I mean, it'd just be like, okay,
Yep.
let's reset this and we're going to say how we're going to, approach this and make sure it's good for both of us. I want to make sure it's a good deal. And I always drive the vehicle on the transaction. That makes a big difference.
I
Um,
100% agree.
I do like that. It's important to do the work-life balance, though. It's really important. I know you've got a newborn, correct?
Yeah, he's 10 months old now, so he'll be actually yeah, he's turns 11 months in a couple days, so time flies.
It'll change everything, right?
Yeah,
Now, all of a sudden, maybe I don't need to work all day Saturday and Sunday, right? Maybe I do need
it was
to
changing.
give my wife a break too, when there's
Yeah.
that element. But for me, I've got four kids, and they're from
Oh, wow.
anywhere. They're all from 4 to 10, so they're heavy in events and things going on every day. And I don't work weekends and evenings, as a part of my business model, and my clients know that. I just set that expectation up front, before we even get started.
Yeah. And I think they respect it too, right? Because if work-life balance is important to them too, like I feel like your clients, they kind of mirror you, right? Like in the sense of like you are who you're around. So if you're around a lot of parents, if you're around a lot of like, I've seen my clientele shift from young single people to families as I'm getting older, right? I'm 32 years old now. So a lot of my clients, they're like buying, selling because their families are growing. So it's pretty cool to see. And I joke all the time. I think people, you're always so busy, you're always so successful. What do you do? You know what I mean? And I joke, I think it was the year of 2020 and 2021, like that COVID year and the year after. Every single weekend, I was either at a baby shower, a housewarming, an engagement party, or a wedding or a bachelor party. It was one or the other. There was no breaks. And so it's just like, I'm well networked and I'm invited to things. I go there, people start talking about real estate. And then sometimes I'm just like, man, I just want to enjoy the event and talk to people about not work. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, if that's who you are, people think of you as the real estate guy. What are they going to do? What's the most common question we get asked? How's the market? you know?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's important to have a good answer for that, for sure. I had something I was going to throw in there. I'll come back to it. So you obviously you got agents working with you. Are any of them like brand new?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have a couple brand new guys here and they're really sharp. Two of my agents, one of them is actually my little brother. He's at UTA. He's 20 years old and he just closed his first transaction about 3 or 4 months in. So I'm super proud of him. Sourced his own client and everything.
Yeah. So for brand new agents, and most of them going
Yeah,
into this, they're not gonna be successful. I mean, the majority of them are not. In 3 years, like 97% of them are some crazy numbers out. Like
yeah.
they go through all the trouble to get the license, they give it a good old try, and it doesn't work out, right? And there's reasons for that. So what advice do you have for a brand new agent?
So I think you kind of just said it. They give it a try, right? What's the definition of giving it a try, right? Like, did they just make one social media post and say like, "Hey guys, I'm a real estate agent," and then hope for it to work out for them? I got into the industry when I was like what 25, so about 7 years ago. I was very young, quote unquote, right? A lot of times people were like, I was brand new. A lot of times people would come up to me and I'd be at an open house and they'd be like, well, why should we buy from you? Have you ever bought a house? And at that point I hadn't, so I was like, hey, that's a good question. So at that point, what I did was I was like, I need an answer for this question when people say, why should I buy a house from you? So what did I do? I learned the market. And so when someone ever asked me that, why should I buy a house from you? You're 25. I was like, well, here's why, because I know the market better than everyone else. I'm going to get you the best deal on this property. That's why you should be. And that's what they were looking for. They weren't like in the beginning, I thought they were just trying to like not use me, but they wanted to know why. They're going to make their largest investment of their purchase of their life, the most money that they'll ever spend. They want to know that they have a solid advisor and someone who will help them. So I think that's the first thing is knowing your role. People, when you're a real estate agent, people aren't coming to work with you because you have flashy cars or you're the cool person or you give a cool gift at closing. That's not why they're working with you. They're working with you because of your knowledge. So my first challenge to every single real estate agent is that's new is learn the market. What do you know about the market? Pick an area, become an expert in it. Go shake hands, go network with people. Like, you know what I mean? And I think if people can learn that, and I always tell them, if you're coming in here and your back's up against the wall and you're looking for quick money, real estate isn't it. It takes 3 years for you to build a business and to see clients start reaching out to you. Until then, you're reaching out to them and you're doing all until your phone starts ringing and people are like, hey, Nav, I have this guy. He's looking for this. It was year 3 when that started happening for me. And I'd rather you, I'm in a much rather place. You'd rather be where the business comes to you versus where you're like fighting for the business, right? Because people can tell when you're desperate, right? Like, and I don't want any of my agents
Yeah,
to,
yeah, I'll go show the house at 10 o'clock tonight. Let's go.
yeah, exactly, right? So I don't ever want my agents to one not be knowledgeable, right? So if you're not knowledgeable, like you need to study, get your knowledge. Like, you should be able to tell me what's the going rate. If you're trying to sell houses in Frisco, you should be able to tell me what the average square foot price is in Frisco. You know what I mean? If you're trying to sell houses in Flower Mound, if you're trying to sell houses in Arlington, because I think our metroplex is so big and people try to spread themselves out so thin and they don't become a master of anything, right? Like that's kind of a problem. So my
Well, you won't be able to have intelligent conversations because you don't actually know the specific market they're trying to buy in.
Yeah, you don't know the area, you don't know the neighborhoods. It's an ongoing thing.
I like leveraging experience. For example, I'm an open house, I'm a new agent, you're my broker. Hey, my partner Nav and we're now over, 5 million and sold or whatever.
Yeah, it's
We
huge.
have you taken care of. We're
Yeah.
ahead of you on the amount of time and effort we've already put into this space, and you leverage experience. I have people
Oh,
that do that with me all the time, my partner Shaune and I. And that's
yeah.
fine for me. I don't mind being a partner with agents that are within my group. I don't have a problem with that.
No, I think it's huge because I mean, and for those like the first couple, like, hey, I'm like, come shadow me on my listing appointments. If come shadow me when I'm taking buyers out, like that. Because the thing is, I can teach you how to write a contract. I can teach you how to do this. I can teach you a script. All good, right? But a real life situation is not as much as a script, right? So if you like, because at the end of the day, if you're like in a real life situation, you're not going to be like, let me think to what to do. You know what I mean? You have to be quick on your feet. And so like I always tell agents like, hey, we'll learn by experience, right? If I teach you everything you need to do on a listing appointment, right? And that's your first day, I teach you everything you need to do on a listing appointment, and then your first buyer comes around, you're going to be like, oh, dang, I wish I had that, or vice versa, right? If I teach you everything how to handle from a buyer from step A to step Z, and then the first thing you get is a listing appointment, it's just like you don't know what to do. So I'd rather be with you in that situation, go with you, and like, hey, let's learn by experience, right? Like, what are their expectations? What, let's get them pre-approved, or let's get their listing ready. Let's put you in that situation, because I think I've noticed a lot of times, and the newer agents, this is not anything that they're doing wrong. They want to know everything. That's great, but at the end of the day, it's impossible to drink from a fire hose.
Right. I mean, there's a lot you're just not going to get.
Yeah,
You got to do it.
yeah,
You and I have sold enough real estate. We've seen it. We know how to respond and react when things happen. But when
yeah.
it's the first time for everything, it's very stressful.
I
You know,
agree. And I think that's one good thing that you bring up too. When I got into the industry, I learned this very early on, and I think it would be one of the biggest reasons for my success is if it's in my control and if something's going wrong and it's in my control and I can do something to change it, great. Then let me fix it. And even if that, because a lot of time we're just managing emotions and people, right? So if I can't do anything and the deal is about to fall apart and I've done everything I absolutely can, well, I did everything I absolutely can. And if the deal is going to fall out and it's going to fall through, it's not the end of the world. Somebody else will come in and buy it, or I'll take my client to a different property. But just managing that expectation is, as long as you did everything that you can do, and that's all you can really do. You did everything you could, and the deal still fell through. Now, if there's something that you could have done, from next time, right? Or you can always go back, right? But at the end of the day, I think having that knowledge of like, I've done everything I can, so I'm good. You know what I mean? And that's why I don't ever have any regrets in real estate or anything like that, because I truly try to do everything that I can. And, no one's perfect, but that kind of really helped me get past a lot of the small stuff, right? Like the stress, like, oh my God, my deal is going, you know what I mean? I don't want to be a high stress person. I'd rather be very calm and relaxed.
sure. And not be reactive,
Yeah.
right? How do we build a team? I mean, so do you have teams at your office now? Are you starting to
Yeah.
actually set up individual smaller teams? Or
Yeah.
are you a team all together and everybody works together?
No, so I have individual agents at the brokerage, and then I have my own personal team that has about 8 agents on it. And so we have a couple guys that have their own smaller teams. So I think I saw you did a podcast with Dylan, and I liked what he said. I liked what he said about teams. Like, it's like someone comes in and they're all over the place, and I really agree with him. But to me, a team is someone who really, they like, there's different definitions, right? Every single team is different. For me, for my team, what they get is they're looking for a little bit more coaching, a little bit more one-on-one, a little bit more branding, right? Whereas my individual agents, they're good on their own. They don't need as much hand holding, and they want to just be on their own and be their own brand. Because at the end of the day, I don't want anyone going out of their way to brand Signature Real Estate Group. I think like Signature Real Estate Group, that's the brokerage. We work in partnership with the agent, but at the end of the day, the agent is the brand. So, Shaune, if you don't mind me asking, what's the first brokerage you ever started with?
Is a little complicated. I never worked for a broker, really.
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
I started and sold real estate out of my garage pretty much, and no one ever taught me how to work with buyers or sellers. It's a little
oh,
complicated. But I worked
okay.
for a company. His name was Floyd Dackel. He ended up dying after that, but he didn't teach me anything. I needed to park my license with somebody.
Yeah.
No, I didn't work for KW. I didn't work for Coldwell, so I don't have any relatable experience there.
Yeah. So, but I guess one where I was going with it is like, did you say his name was?
Floyd, yeah, Floyd Dackel.
Yeah. So nobody came and worked with you because you worked with Floyd, right?
Right,
For
absolutely not.
for example, for me, I was taught that like, hey, I started off at KW, right? And you got to start out somewhere. So I started off at KW, and nobody really came and worked with me because I was at KW or I was at JPAR. They worked with me because I was Nav and they knew me. And of course, the brokerage has tools and everything like that. I'm not saying that, right? But I think brokerages, too often, they feel like that the agent works for them, where I feel like it's the opposite. As a brokerage, we work for you. The agents are the like bosses. They have to tell us what they need, what they want, right? And it's our job to provide. So I think it's everyone has a different outlook on that. But to me, I have some agents that, they're happy being single individual agents and that's all they want to do. They don't want to be responsible for others. Then I have some guys that are very ambitious. And, I even have a team here at my brokerage that they have goals of starting their own brokerage. And I've told them, hey, I was like, anything that I can do, because who am I to stop someone, right? I've told them, you want to start your own brokerage? Cool. I'll show you everything that I did, and this is how you can do it, and I'll give you the ropes. Versus, whereas some brokerage owners would be like, oh, well, you're going to be my competition. There's more than enough to go around for everyone. You know what I mean? So I think my job is to just help people in the way that they need it, right? And so I would say we are a pretty unique situation because some of my agents that are on my team, they don't need to be here anymore under they don't need the hand holding. They could go and do whatever they wanted, but they like the environment. They're happy with where they are. And, they're proud of the brand that we've created.
Yeah, I've been doing a series of videos where I've called it the counterculture agent. And I'm really addressing the fact that agents sell real estate, brokers don't. It's really a major emphasis. And I like that you do identify that the models really should be upside down. And most brokers still want to retain onto the ego in their brand. Brands don't sell real estate. Buildings don't sell real estate. None of that sells real estate.
Yeah.
Nav, if you're in my brokerage and you've been selling a lot of real estate and you go and decide to do something else at another brokerage, none of your clients are going to call me to sell them real estate. They're going to call you.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the agent is the end person that has that lifeline. And there's a reason for this. I won't get too much into philosophy, but there was a breakdown about 20 years ago with the internet, and buyers and sellers started getting all the information in their hands. And there was less of a need to go to the broker's office or see their information or have them tell us what it is because buyers and sellers had it. They needed a facilitator, and the broker is not going to be the facilitator. The agent's going to be the facilitator.
Yeah.
And they just didn't need the broker. It's kind of really moved into that space. And I appreciate that you recognize that because that's a big challenge that brokers don't understand is that they're really more of setting up agents for success than being the ones that are making all the action happen because they're not.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It is really important to realize that because at the end of the day, and I'm not saying anything wrong with there's brokerages out there that have their name as the brokerage. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But for me, I was just like, I picked Signature Real Estate Group as my brokerage name because if I did Nav Singh Realty Group or Nav Singh's Associates, right? Like they feel like at the end of the day, they're their own brand. You know what I mean? I didn't want them to feel like they're branding someone else or making someone else and like kind of, hey, my name has to be on your sign. Like at the end of the day.
I agree 100%. I chose True West Realty. It was just a big brand. It was a big name. That was my brokerage. I was a broker for about 10 years. I had about 10 agents. And then I ended up just deciding it wasn't where I wanted to be in the future. But True West was my brand. And I've since moved to a company that I can just use my brand, but I don't have to. But I didn't want anybody branded under my name. And I agree. I agree with you as well. Well, we've actually come up to the end of it. Is there anything specifically you want to promote or share, or how do we get in contact with you?
Yeah, so my team page is Singh Real Estate Group, right, on Instagram, and that's our TikTok as well. And then my personal page, which is now like my realtor page. I share a little bit about real estate on there. I share a little bit about my personal life on there. It's my first name, which is Navjot, Navjot Singh.re. So Navjot.Singh.re. That's my page. And yeah, I think what you're doing is amazing, Shaune. I really am impressed with everything that you're doing. I love the podcast and I'm subscribing to it, and I'm so glad Tyler connected us because he's awesome. I think that's a guy that is doing amazing things as well. So love. How long have you known Tyler?
We've actually probably met a few years ago. He get connected through one of my own clients that I've done probably 8 or 9 transactions with. And the thing about Tyler is he's got an organicness about his inside the look office deal behind the scenes. And he shares a lot of those experiences and things he's doing. So he has a real transparency with that. A lot of us, don't want to share the inside the office things, but he's sharing it. Like he's being very open and he's a very transparent guy. And we're definitely going to give him a shout out when we get yours put out there because he's the one that connected you and I together.
No, I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm really excited to keep up with you and see all the other stuff that you do. And now I'm going to challenge you to post on Instagram and grow your social media as well. I'm excited to see what you do with it. So it'll be awesome. It's the best thing you could ever do. And it's just like you said, I can really tell you lead from a place of wanting to give back to the people. And that's amazing. So you don't see that a lot out there. So I really appreciate what you're doing.
All right. Well, I appreciate all the kind words now, and I will take your challenge. I will post. Well, thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching another episode. I appreciate it. We are going to wrap this one up. You can reach Nav, especially on Instagram. I think the 18,000 followers shows that he has got some information that you're going to want to see. And if you want to have any contact with him, connect with me as well. I'll make sure I get you guys connected. Until then, have a high performance week, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay. Bye.
That wraps up another episode of Real Estate Success DFW. I hope you're leaving with new insights that push your real estate career forward. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with fellow agents who's ready to succeed. And if you're interested in working together or have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me directly. My personal phone is 214-228-0383. Let's connect and make real estate success happen together. Until next time, keep pushing forward. I'm Shaune Corbett, and this is the Real Estate Success BFW. Have a high performance week.